So welcome everybody to the first in our free 2023 webinar series. You are at the right spot if you were expecting to hear Losing the War for Talent, 3 winning strategies you can implement today. So before we get started, we're going to use the chat quite a lot today. I know all of you are muted right now, and I'll unmute you later on when we get to open question and answer. But if you don't mind throwing in the chat, where is everybody from? I see some familiar names in the room, but there are some folks I don't recognize. So go ahead and throw in the chat, please, where you're from. We got Laredo, Texas. Welcome. Cynthia, one of my familiar names. Whoa, Calgary, Canada. Ottawa, Canada. We got Houston in the room. Excellent. So we got both things. We got Denver, Pennsylvania. Hey, close to home, Gabby. Excellent. So I think we got North America covered between Texas and Canada. So we want this to be an interactive session. So regardless of who's talking, whether it's either Paul or me, the other one will be watching the chat room, and we want you to interact there. Oh, we've got a Greenwich, Connecticut as well. Welcome, Connecticut. And so we want you to interact within the chat. We will be posting questions in there. And I appreciate you bearing with my voice. For some reason, about 5 minutes before we went live, a frog decided to jump into my throat, and he doesn't want to leave just yet. So hopefully we get through this without him jumping around on me. So let's hop right in here. So you're probably here because you're finding it's frustrating to hire and retain and attract great talent. Is there anyone in this room who is not struggling to attract talent right now? As the reverends say during weddings, speak now or forever hold your peace. Generally, what we find, and because there's silence, I know that means that everybody is having trouble attracting talent. But the thing is, even though we're in this war for talent, you're going to hear us refer to that quite often this morning. You can establish yourself as a great place to work. And we're going to talk about that today, not just in theory, but we're going to give you some very specific things you can look at to establish yourself as a great place to work, and how you can market and develop your employment brand to help in your talent search. So when we think about this session is for you. There's 3 things we're going to deliver on. If you're afraid your employees are going to leave you for a better offer, how many of you have just in 2023 lost employees to another company, whether it's a competitor or not, solely because of money? Gabby says yes. New hires on same day hired, lost the next day. Yep. So we're seeing this, right? And we know that salaries are out of control. You know, I'm seeing clients that are losing semi-skilled workers going to the local minute market or the local warehouse and earning more than what they'd be doing using their skills. So we are in a crazy economy, and we know that's not going to change in the foreseeable future. So it's a battle that we have to fight, but we've got to know the strategy behind how we want to fight. So while we can't control employees leaving for a better offer in necessarily every case, there are things we can do to combat that. How many of you, because you've got a labor shortage, are finding that your team is overworked? Maybe they're getting stressed simply because critical roles are staying open way too long. Have you had any complaints on that front? Gabby says this one is huge. Cynthia says lots. So I was having a chat with the husband of a good friend the other day, and he said to me, he said, Ed, I've got a team that's supposed to have 10 people on it, and I've got 7 right now. And so we're behind in getting our deliverables out. And when I talk to HR about it, HR says, well, if I cross-train, it'll solve my problem. And he says, but the problem is, how do I cross-train when I don't have enough people to get the job done to begin with, right? So as an HR guy myself, I hear what HR is telling him. I also feel his pain that this is not the simple solution. Well, if you cross-train people, then they can do all these other jobs. There's still only so many hours in a day. Finally, you're at the right place. If you want to be the company that top talent leaves other companies for, that's the reality that we're in. All the people that you want to have working for you are already working someplace else. So we're really talking about the law of attraction here. How do we become the shiny object that people want? And that's what we're going to address today. This number 3 is going to be huge. How can we become the top talent magnet? How can we be the place that people are knocking on the door saying, we want in there? There's cool stuff going on over there. That's where the cool kids are hanging out, right? There are ways we can do it. We're going to talk about those in the next hour with you. Paul.
Thanks, Ed, and welcome everyone. Just so great to have people from across the country and over the border and everything. So Ed and I started a webinar series this year that we wanted to really help out with companies that are looking for employees that are having trouble recruiting, because really we want to make a difference in the quality of workplaces. And we really like seeing employers and employees thrive, because the world's really changed. I mean, that little pandemic thing hit, and we think that maybe that was it, but it was changing before that. And now that everyone has found that they can work from home or get better pay, not leaving their house, and there's all sorts of options for employees out there, it's really changed the landscape where employees have the power now kind of over when they want to apply for jobs. They're shopping for jobs, they're looking for the best offer, and it's left employers just shaking their heads and wondering what's going on. So there's a new reality here, and that's what this series is about. So we'll be covering topics on this problem over the next year, every month. And so our next series, the next webinar in the series, Ed, should be.
It is.
Yeah, next month we're talking about, is your organization driving workers? And this is a really big problem that we've seen in a lot of companies that require skilled labor, skilled talent, that, like Ed said, they're leaving to work at a local store just because they can get paid more to not use their skills. So let's move on, Ed.
Yeah.
So what are we going to cover today? First, we're going to talk about why candidates will fight to work in today's best workplaces, and we're going to share how you can become one of them. And next, we'll talk about how to differentiate your workplace and market your openings so candidates are afraid to miss out, because really now hiring has become about marketing and selling your jobs. And then the last point that we're going to cover is what you can do now to create value and excitement in your job postings and make your organization stand out. So next slide, Ed. So why do you want to listen to us? Well, I'll just give you a little background on me. I'm Dr. Paul, and I started out as a chiropractor, practiced for 16 years, and then I moved into publishing and coaching. Big career change, I know. But what I've been doing for the last decade has been pulling stories out of people and helping them to write books, and really digging deep and finding out what makes them really unique and really valuable. And what we've been doing, Ed and I working together, we've been working together for the past few years, is we've been working with companies to dig deep and find out what makes the company unique, what makes it stand out, and why would people want to work for that company versus another company that does exactly the same thing. Because what we found is that most employers don't realize that they have things about their organization that really make it great, make it a great place to work for the people that work there. And what we found is that usually, if a company is a nice place to work or a good place to work, there's something there that they can sell to their employees and to the candidates applying for the job because they are who they are. And that's what we're really digging deep for. That's where my skill set comes to play. And that's what we're bringing to the table. So I'll pass it to you, Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So you might say, well, gosh, what's a marketing guy got to do with this HR thing of attracting talent? Well, that's the beauty of the relationship that Paul and I have. Is what I've found in working with clients over the last 20 years as an HR consultant is that they don't know how to market themselves because we never had to. We posted an ad, people beat on our door, we had our pick of candidates. And of course, those days are over. And it's my opinion that they're not going to end anytime soon. This dearth of talent is a problem that's going to stay with us for the foreseeable future. And so when I'm working with clients and we're doing things to improve their culture and we're getting them on that transformation journey, they haven't figured out how to communicate all that well. And so that's where I realized early on, wait a minute, I've got to introduce HR into the world of marketing. And so, as Paul said, we've had the opportunity to work with several clients now together on helping them improve their culture, their workplaces, their messaging to solve their biggest talent concerns. So why do you think, despite the fact that there's a dearth of talent, why do you think that today's top candidates will actually fight to work at a top talent magnet? Any thoughts on that from those of you in the room? Why would today's candidates fight for this? Maybe you're thinking, tell us, Ed, we don't know. Kelsey says they feel seen and valued. Absolutely. Any other thoughts on why candidates would actually fight to go to a top talent magnet? Cynthia says there's an array of choices and it's about what's best for me. Absolutely. What is best for you, and how do we show that our company is best for you? Gabby says they feel there's an opportunity for growth and longevity. Absolutely, right? So it's do we have and can we articulate in our messaging what people want, specifically the people that we want, right? So what if I told you that you could be known as the best place to work in your industry? So many people say, well, we're not Google, Ed. We're not Microsoft. We're not whatever, fill in the blank, right? And I say, good. I'm glad you're not. I want you to be the best you. In fact, there's a great commercial I've seen running lately mostly during sporting events. And it's narrated by Morgan Freeman. And it shows a little guy playing football and things. And he's saying, they say you're going to be the next Tom Brady, but you're not going to be the next Tom Brady. You're going to be the next you, right? And that's so true that sometimes we get into this mode of feeling like we've got to look at the Joneses across the street and say, well, I got to keep up with them, rather than looking at what we have to offer in our workplace that's different. And in fact, yesterday I was in Boston talking about a very similar topic, and it was to a long-term care conglomerate. And one of their directors raised her hand and she said, Ed, I don't mean to be blunt, but she says, when you sign up to be a CNA, that means wiping people's bottoms. And it's not a very thrilling job. And I said, I understand that. But if you sign up to be a CNA, you know what that job entails. So while being a CNA may not seem all that sexy of a career choice, people make it for a reason. And so what you have to do is say, okay, how do we attract the best CNAs? Because the CNA work itself is the same regardless of where they're doing it. It's the environment in which they're doing it. And so regardless of the types of organizations you're with, I know we've got a bank, I know we got a manufacturer, we got professional services. It's, can you be the best you that you can be? That's the real question, okay? Because that is what's going to draw people to you when they know you are the best you. So the reason ultimately that people compete to get into these top tier companies, and I don't think that top tier companies necessarily have to be the ones you read about in the paper, right? They don't have to be the Googles and the Microsofts of the world or whatever. There are a lot of great local companies that are just really good places. In fact, I was with a potential client 2 weeks ago, and they manufacture furniture, high-end furniture, and they have a niche in the church market. So they do a lot of church furniture. And the area that they're located in, has just a plethora of other woodworking types of entities. So companies that are doing kitchen and bath remodeling or doing framing for houses, that sort of thing. So they're all competing for the same talent, carpenters, okay? What's different about this company? Well, when I was talking to the owner, he said, Ed, because we have such a solid church base, he said, when the economy goes into a bit of a recession, ours isn't as big. But that also means when the economy is booming, it's not quite as big either. But what that means is I'm able to keep my staffing levels very static. We've never had a layoff. And I looked at him and I said, do you understand that you're competing for talent with these companies that as soon as the housing market goes kaput, they're laying people off because no one's buying kitchen and baths if there's no need for housing, right? You need to be marketing that. That's how you're going to attract people, because he's paying the same wages as these other firms. They're doing the same jobs, working on the same equipment, but he's got a different story to tell. And that's how you will be able to compete to get this top talent, is by telling your story, your truth, right? So I want to start off with this idea of the candidate experience. Think about what candidates go through when they want to apply for work with your organization. Where does it start? And when does the candidate experience start? When do you think, let me ask you, throw it in the chat. When do you think that the candidate experience starts? I see Cynthia typing. When they see the ad posting at birth, Kelsey says, from your job posting. You know, Kelsey, you're not too far off. And we know Kelsey. She's a good friend of ours. And, she's not totally wrong with the at birth comment. When you think about it, I would say the candidate experience starts before they ever know they're a candidate. Okay. So let's say for a moment, because I see Cynthia's smiling face on the screen. Cynthia, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. So Cynthia's with a bank. Okay. So if I bank at her bank and I go in and I make my deposits, I make my withdrawals, I've got my credit card with her, maybe I got a car loan with her, right? I'm getting that whole customer experience from her. Is it possible that I could also be a candidate for employment with her? if she has a position that fits my skill set. She's shaking her head, yes, absolutely, right? So when did my candidate experience start? Probably the day I first walked into her bank and said, I've got $5, can I open an account, right? So, but what led me, let's go one step further. What led me to walk into her bank with my $5 to open my account? Okay. Was it an ad that I saw? Was it because they had a pretty office building? It was convenient to me. I mean, who knows, right? It could be any one of those things. But the reality is that today's candidate experience starts earlier than even when they consider the job. And so the sooner that we can understand that we have to become marketers, the better off we are. So there used to be that saying, the ABCs, always be closing. Like if you're a salesperson, that was a mantra for a lot of people for a long time. I think our mantra today has to be always be recruiting. Okay. We're always looking for the right people and the right fit. And so we have to remember that every touch, whether it is specifically related to HR or whether it's in how we're presenting our organization to the general public, how we're showing up on social media, all of that impacts the candidate experience. So ultimately, when you think about it, what I'm trying to say here is the candidate is your customer. Now, it's not been that long ago that as HR folks, we would post an ad and we'd get 100 resumes, right? I can remember going into a client one time in Philadelphia. We had a meeting and she and I walk into the conference room and they had this big, long conference room table, it seats like 12 people around it. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that half of it was covered in stacks of paper. And I looked at her, I said, Brenda, what is all this? She says, resumes. I said, where'd they come from? She says, the ads I've been running for the last 3 weeks. There had to be thousands of them there. And first I was like, why'd you print them all out? But it was just, the visual has stuck with me because those days are gone, right? Where you posted and you got just this inundation. And some of us say, yeah, well, half of those people weren't qualified. And you're probably still seeing that today, that even the people you do get aren't qualified. But the reality is that if we're not treating, so what did I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but what did we do back then? Oh, well, we sifted through and I called up Kelsey, brought her in for an interview. I hired her and no one else ever heard from me. And we could get away with that, right? Because, we were the kings. There was not that many jobs out there and there were lots of people looking. Obviously, the tables have turned. And so when you think about the candidate being your customer, you wouldn't ignore your customer, right? If I walked into your facility and I was standing in line, hopefully you wouldn't ignore me. That would be a problem. And so today, if we're ignoring our candidates, if people are sending resumes in and they're not hearing from us in a very timely manner, and I'm talking about less than 24 hours in today's environment, we're not really treating them that well, right? So these are some things that we have to think about. And a lot of these things we'll be delving into in more detail, not just today, but in some of our future webinars as well. So what you have to ask yourself and be honest with it, you don't have to put it in the chat, but how is your candidate experience? From the time that I send you my resume, what happens? Do I get, hey, Ed, thanks for your resume. We're going to be right on it. You'll hear from us in 24 hours. Do I get something like that? Or does it just go into the oblivion? When I talk to recruiters today, they'll tell me, well, yeah, Ed, but these candidates, they're ghosting me. Yeah? What are we going to do about it? Nothing, right? We can't control their behavior. We can control ours, though. And so what I'd ask you to think about is, if you believe that the candidate is your customer and you believe that customer service is important, then logic says that candidate service is important. Because how you treat me as I'm going through that candidate process gives me a window into how you're going to treat me when I'm an employee. Why would something change? Because think about it. I often equate the recruiting experience to dating, right? So, the first couple dates, we're all dapper, we're not letting any skeletons out of the closet. We're our best version of ourselves. But as we build the relationship with this person, we start to maybe let our hair down a little bit. Maybe, ladies, if you wear makeup, you let the guy see you without some makeup, see what his reaction is. I don't know, right? We start to let ourselves, I'm unshaven today. I'm in my favorite comfy holy t-shirt, whatever. And if that goes well, we're like, okay, maybe this person's a keeper now, right? So, but the bottom line is, if all we do is keep someone at arm's length during the candidate process and we don't build the relationship with them, how can they ever make the employment commitment to us, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we've got to see that the candidate process, the whole recruitment process, is just like dating. We're trying to figure out if this relationship is a match for us. Paul, I'm going to fire it over to you. I've been talking for a while. Why don't you take the reins here for a bit?
Great. Thanks, Ed. And so, yes, it certainly is a big problem trying to find people out there and to get them actually interested in your openings. So what Ed's been saying is that it's really important to treat those candidates well. And if you think about, the customer journey, like before a customer even buys and invests into our company, we're nurturing them along, and we're treating them really nicely because we want them to become a customer, even if they're not a customer. And so there's different steps in that dating process where we're giving them flowers, or we're buying them chocolates, and just showing them that, hey, you know what? It would be really great if we got into this customer and business relationship. And that has to be the same sort of thing with your candidate journey, as you get them to become interested and get them to apply and onboard them into your company. So in order to differentiate your workplace and to show that your workplace is better than others, we can't be using the old job posting method, right? Where we throw an ad out there and we get all those ads or all these people coming in, and we didn't even have to do a good job of it, did we? Right? As long as there was like a job posting up there, you could just count on all these people applying, and anybody and everybody would be firing resumes your way. So this is Ed made up these slides, so he found some things that make him laugh, and they're kind of it's just sort of his sense of humor, right?
Yes,
You can
I have a quirky sense of humor. Yes.
Get a beanbag for applying. Yeah, so we got Cynthia saying here, 97% of candidates with a positive experience refer other candidates. That's what we want, right?
Yes.
55% of candidates would tell their social networks about positive experiences. And that's the thing. Positive experience get passed on, but negative experiences get passed on like 10 times more. So you don't want to be upsetting these people that are applying for a job. And maybe they're not the right candidate right now, right? And maybe they're not the right candidate for this position, but they could be a good person to keep in line for something that's coming up. And so you want to keep engaged with them. Now, my background as a marketer is on the story side, right? And what is compelling to the customer or to the person that you're trying to engage in a relationship with. Now, there's all sorts of marketing, like with social media and what you put out there, and that's not my forte. But in what do you say and how do you interest those people? That's where I work. And how do you make what you've got in your company appealing to exactly the right people that are out there? Now, I have a client that I work with right now who supports orthodontic offices, and they've got this one huge office. It's a big company, and they I think they have 120 employees, right? They have 8 locations, and everybody wonders why everybody that goes there to work there stays there. and why they love it so much. Meanwhile, in other offices, there's just churn and burn, right? People come, go, and they're they're leaving all the time for jobs in other industries, somewhere with better pay. But meanwhile, this place keeps them on. But because it's become known as a great place to work, it's become known as a place where you can develop your career. And they're always recruiting. And they don't necessarily do it, they don't actually post any job postings. It's all done through word of mouth, through the people that work there, and they walk around with their business cards. And if they go into a coffee shop and they get great service, they go, wow, you know what, that was really nice, really, I really enjoyed the way you do that. And if you're ever looking for a change and you want to work somewhere where there's a really positive environment where you can help people, just give me a call. Like I have something for you. So they're always recruiting, but they're always looking for people that fit with what their culture is. And that's the thing. If you want to be a top talent magnet, you got to have something good to offer them, which means that doesn't mean that you need to be as big as or as fancy as one of those big companies out there. You just need to have something that's right for the right person that you're attracting, right? Like, your friends are friends with you because they like you. You don't have to be like other people. You don't have to be like everybody else. They like you. And there's people out there that will naturally gravitate towards you, and there's people that they're never going to want to hang out with you. That's the same for your company. So what we want to do is look at, how do we do this? So let's move on here, Ed. So I want you to start rethinking about what you're putting out there. And this is really key, because the candidate experience, it needs to really speak to people today in today's marketplace. And think about what is grabbing people's attention right now. They're watching videos that are less than a minute long on TikTok now, and like everything is just moving, and there's information flying at you at the speed of light, right? You only have a few seconds to get people's attention. So when you put out a job title, it has to be concise and to the point. It has to say who you're looking for and what it's for. So what they found is that 3-word job titles, they convert way more, like double the apply rate, than those that are 12 words or longer. So don't be really creative with your job titles, because that puts people off, especially if, like there's certain verbiage out there, or people are used to hearing jobs called a certain way, and then you start calling it something else, they're not going to know to apply. So then the next thing is, you need to be consistent. And Ed's asking, has anyone used video on social media, or is anyone talking about their company on social media? What are you putting out there? And the other thing is, do you encourage your employees to share what they're doing on social media? Can they show video or pictures of them actually doing stuff on the job or at events that show that your company is a fun place to work, or that your company provides interesting, exciting opportunities, or maybe you got some new equipment or some really groundbreaking technology, and your employees are really excited to be using it? You want to share this or put this out there, because Kelsey said it starts at birth. Well, it starts when people start becoming interested in seeing what your company's doing, even if it's on the news or just in their news feed and something on LinkedIn. That's when the candidate experience begins, when people start to go, look at what they're doing there. So sharing things on social media, that's a must. And let's look at the next option there. In the candidate experience, you need to be engaging. And that's what we've been talking about with social media. You've got to have stuff out there that people can interact with. So when people contact you and they ask you about the job post, there has to be some way of interacting and having a discussion or replying. Now, we're not saying that people are gonna, if people are asking, oh, is this a full-time position or part-time, like they should be able to certainly read that in the posting. But you definitely want to have a way of conversing with people to see if they actually fit or can apply. And in a lot of cases now, what we're seeing is that people are putting out the requirements on their job postings, but they're saying, even if you don't think you meet all of these requirements, please apply, because we can see if you are a fit for our company, which is what people are finding more and more, is that being creative about the way that they're hiring allows them to find the right person and train up to the level of the position that they need in some cases. Now, certainly when you need skilled labor or people with definite skills, it's still really more important to hire for the person than it is for the skill set. Let's go to the next slide, Ed. So we want to be concise, right? So in marketing, if you don't grab people with the headline, they're not going to read the rest of the article, right? They're not going to watch the video if the title's not good, and people aren't going to necessarily apply for your job if there isn't a good job title. And people, you want to have your job title aligned with the type of pay or the level of the position that it is. So like I was saying, if your job title doesn't reflect what people in the industry are looking for, you're gonna lose out. I have a client right now, and they've been trying to fill a really senior management position. It's what do they call it? They call it a capacity development officer. And I'm like, what is capacity development? And is that like a CEO position, CDO or whatever? Like, what is it? C-suite? What is it? And it had no applications on LinkedIn. Maybe it'd been up for a few months and like 10 people had submitted applications. It's a VP level position, right? That's a very specific kind of person. And they're out there looking for VP level jobs. They don't interact with their job postings the same way that everybody else does. So you need to grab their attention with the right words. Don't make up words because you'll lose out. Next slide, Ed. The other thing you want to be is consistent, right? So we talked about, are you putting stuff out on social media? Well, it's great to encourage your team to put stuff out on social media, but it needs to look like it's coming from your company, right? So if it's being shared on your company's page, you need to have consistency with the way things are being put out on your social media pages, as things that are being shared on your website, as well as what's going into your job postings. If there's consistency across the board and people are seeing, wow, that looks like a great company that's using amazing technology, they're working with really interesting projects, there's things that align with my values and I want to get interested, I want to get into that. Then I look at their website and it says, here's our core values. These are the things that we believe in. And this is the type of project, the type of work we do. And then they look at the job posting and it says, are you a person that has these values? Do you want to do these sort of things in the community, with the public, in the environment, or whatever? And they see that there's a consistent thread across the board. Like, wow, we see people that all have the same values. They're working at a company that says, this is what we believe in. And the job posting is saying, hey, are you one of us? Do you want to come work here? Then they go, yeah, I can trust that place. That's somewhere that I'd like to be part of that organization. So being consistent is really key. And Kelsey says reliable equals safe. Yeah, we are looking for safety. And as Ed said, like if there are factors that make people feel safer, like there's no layoffs, then that's a really big selling point. Even though people are doing the exact same thing that they could be doing at another company, that safety factor might even is worth more than, say, an hourly increase in pay. And finally, is your candidate experience engaging? Everybody really only cares about themselves. Like, I mean, we're taught we want to, other people are more important than we are. Deep down, it's just like, it's all about me, really, right? So we want to know what's in it for me. What am I getting out of this? And I don't work for you yet, so I don't need to listen to you. So if I'm looking at this job description and I'm looking to work for you, what am I going to get by working here. So you want to make sure that your candidate experience is speaking to the candidate rather than speaking to your internal sort of language, your verbiage, the whatever kind of speak your industry has. And I've had to like redo some job descriptions for companies where they're using language that even the people in HR are saying, what does this actually mean? You know, and it's the people that are hiring that are making sure that this job description speaks to all the things that they think are important. But you've got somebody out there that is not part of your company, doesn't necessarily care about your company, and doesn't really care about necessarily the projects that you're working on right now. So how do you make sure that they're actually interested in coming on board? How do you say things to people that don't understand your internal language and they're not really familiar with the jargon of your industry? You can't be thinking that just because people understand a certain type of jargon that they're going to be interested. So here on this slide here, the last thing that we want to make sure about our postings is, are they mobile friendly? Because that's where our culture's gone, right? Everybody is using these things more than they're using their computers, and everything needs to be, first of all, you know, optimized so it shows up properly on a cell phone or on a mobile device, and it needs to be very user friendly. The user experience has to be good. So what this is it's a little test here for you, and not just for your website, but it's a test of your skills with using QR codes. But take your phone and just snap a shot of that. Go to this website, and if you enter in your company's job page, recruitment page, is it mobile friendly? Now, I know this is a webinar, so just take a snapshot of that and save it for later, and you can go through that. But what we found is that, you know, some people were finding like, oh wow, you know what, I'm not getting a very good score here, or they were having trouble just opening up the page. But the other thing that people were finding is that what was it? There was like something like 52 clicks is what it took to get through through the application process.
Yeah, friend of mine is in the HRIS business, and they've done some studies, and the average click rate, or not click rate, excuse me, the average number of clicks it takes to get through an online application is 52. When's the last time any of you spent 52 clicks to do anything online, right? Way too many. And so before I, and Paul, I don't want to steal your thunder, but one of the other things we heard with this QR code is I had a lot of companies say to me, oh yeah, we're good. Marketing makes sure everything is good on our web pages. The problem is maybe your company's web pages are all mobile friendly, but if you are using an external plugin for your applicant tracking, that's when I've seen the most problems. Some of the applicant tracking mechanisms don't play well. So I would even go so far as to say, okay, you see that your job page is up there and looking good. Click on one of your jobs and see what that looks like and run that through this little QR, the program that's in this QR code, just to make sure that things are looking really good out there for you.
Yeah, exactly. And Gabby says we love QR codes here. It's amazing what the pandemic did for QR codes, right? Almost no one used them, and now everyone's using them.
Go
So
to
easy to
every
make
bar,
them
restaurant,
too.
and right there they are on the table. Click for your menu. Yeah.
All right, next slide, Ed, please.
Yep.
So I just want to show you something really interesting about how to. Now, here's what we got. We are saying this is the old way. This is an actual posting that Ed and I worked with, or with a company Ed and I worked with, an engineering firm. And so they were saying ABC Co, the engineering firm, is 100% employee-owned engineering firm, design firm offering competitive salaries, professional development, and a comprehensive benefit package. Yeah, you and everybody else, right?
Mhm.
Well, the employee owned, that's cool. But then we are seeking an energetic and goal-oriented civil engineer project manager to support our municipal engineering team in Philadelphia. Now, this posting is talking all about our company, us, and blah, 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 like what we want, what we're looking for. And the person who is the candidate is saying, so, what do you got to offer me? And that's not marketing. That's going, hey, you know what? We just expect 100 applications to show up because we put this up. Now, this is what we help them to do with their job posting for the same job. So the first thing that they see right up here is a testimonial from someone working there. And this actually came right out of the guy's mouth. I was talking to him. He says, ABC Co is at the forefront of sustainability. And he's really excited, right? He says, we're not just talking about projects, we're actually doing them. And he's talking about how their company is doing some groundbreaking stuff in wastewater management. And so isn't this speaking to somebody that cares about the environment and wants to do something about it? So we're right away, we're hooking the attention of the right person. And let's see what the next part is. So then this starts talking to the person and how it's going to look for them to be in that job. So as a senior project manager, you will lead the municipal water wastewater team, providing your technical expertise and guidance. You will be the trusted advisor to our clients with the freedom to develop new business relationships and close new opportunities. So that's exactly what they're going to be doing. And you'll have the chance to grow your skill set and access exciting new projects while integrating with our municipal engineering team. So that person can see exactly how they're going to be fitting into the team and what they're going to be doing. And then finally, it tells a little bit more about what they're going to be overseeing here. They're going to be working with biosolids and renewable energy development. And then with access to ongoing training and development, you'll enjoy a fulfilling and dynamic career surrounded by a team where employee individuality is harnessed and integrated. This company actually has, they have millennial engineers that have been there for 15 years. And they've got a whole bunch of people that have been there for even 20 years or more. Mm-hmm. And they also have the Boomerang Award that they give to people that left because they thought that there was a better opportunity out there and then found out that it sucks out there and came back. So, yep. And they were struggling to actually get their positions filled. And what we showed them is you're not marketing how good it is in here. You got to share that. Yep. All right. And I think what else we got? Oh yeah. So anyway, so are your job postings mobile friendly? Just remember that 60% of job seekers are quitting in the middle of filling out online applications because it's too long. So 52 clicks is too much and people get tired. What else we got here, Ed? 68% of millennials, they use their mobile devices, and even us older folks use them too. 61% of job applications were completed on mobile devices. So that's just important. So checking that out, make sure you do it. And I'm going to hand it back to you, Ed, to wrap this up.
Yeah. So question now is, what can you do now to create value and excitement in your job postings to make your organization stand out? You saw the difference there with Paul's writing and working with that engineering firm to take that old stodgy sort of post that's not exciting, not invigorating, kind of ho-hum, and turn it around into speaking to me. I mean, if you read that and you're a person who's a civil engineer, and that's the kind of work you want to be doing, I mean, wow, that's a job ad that's grabbing. And what was so important about the work that we did there is that this organization was not based in Philadelphia. They were trying to break into that market. And so they didn't have the name recognition. And so their challenge was, we're going to Philadelphia in a market with some big name engineering firms. How are we going to compete? Well, it's by standing out in the crowd. And we helped them to get staffed up and get that office open simply by changing how they were marketing and the words that they were using. So the question is, what's really cool and different about your workplace, right? Now, maybe your workplace doesn't look like this, okay? And I'm not saying it has to, okay? Remember, I want you to be the best you. So the question is, if there's something different about your workplace, it's the vibe, it's the way people interact, whatever it happens to be, get it out there. One of my clients is not a faith-based organization, but faith and Christianity tends to run pretty heavily through the organization. In fact, they start many of their meetings with a prayer. So they're hesitant to talk about that with the outside world for fear that they're going to be criticized. I said, but wait a minute, you've got a unique culture and it's one that works for you. Why wouldn't you put that out there to attract people that say, that's the kind of workplace I want to be in? Another organization that I work with brings in different religious leaders, and they have office space there. So they may get a rabbi, a Protestant minister, a Catholic priest, whatever, different days of the week. And so people of different faiths can go in and talk to someone if they're having a bad day. That's unique to that work environment. Those are the kind of cool things that maybe you take for granted that you're doing, but you want to celebrate those things. And the outside world deserves to hear about what makes you unique, because it's those unique those unique characteristics that's going to differentiate you, and it's going to turn you into the magnet drawing people to you. So the big question is, do you want to evaluate your candidate experience? And if so, what does that look like? What's the process for evaluating every step of your candidate experience? From well before the job ad is posted, but maybe, Kelsey, sorry, a little bit after birth. What does that look like? Paul has designed something he calls a recruiting funnel that we're actually going to talk about on a future webinar, that really talks about how it's not unlike a sales funnel, and how we cast the wide net, and how do we draw people down into the bottom of that funnel that are turning into paying customers. Well, how are we turning them from candidate to an employee? Okay. And so what we'd like to do for all of you is, we'd like to offer everyone in the webinar today free 30 minutes with us to take a look at your candidate experience. We do, because spots are limited, we do need you to sign up today to grab a time with us. Paul just threw in the meeting chat a Google Doc with a couple basic questions to sign up and get this 30 minutes with us. Okay, so first thing I do, fill out that application. If you're qualified, and I'm pretty sure based on what I've known about some of you that are in the room and what you've shared, if you're qualified, we'll take a look at one job ad for you. We'll review it with you. We'll put it through the ringer, like we showed you with the old way versus the new way a couple slides back. And then ultimately, we're going to give you feedback on how that ad can be reworked to start attracting the talent that you need. Obviously, that's only one piece of your candidate experience. But again, as Paul said at the beginning, one of the reasons we're doing this is we're trying to give back. We're trying to help companies that are struggling on this front to get them in a better spot. And so this is just one more way that we feel that we can give back to make your lives a little bit easier. So what I'd like to do now is I want to open up for open questions. We're about 5 minutes before the hour, and I'm going to respect your time. We promised you an hour, and that's where we want to keep it. But please go ahead and unmute if you have a question or a specific scenario you want to run past, and we'll be happy to chat through that here. Or if you don't want to unmute, you want to throw it in the chat, you can do that too. Some people get bashful.
And I just want to say, it's been really interesting chatting with people out there who are having trouble recruiting, and then we look at their postings, and we look at how they're marketing things, and they're wondering, I know, but it's just it's an entry-level job. What can we say about it? Or it's a really hard role. But there's people that want to take on these hard roles because it means something to them, and they want to help people. And so what we've done is we've helped people to look at what are the aspects that would apply to the values of the person that fit in that role. So we're really we love just chatting about those things and helping people to see what is possible for marketing their roles. And we know that the people that have taken us up on this have gotten a lot of insights that they've applied. And we got Cynthia here saying we work with Indeed for sponsored postings, assigned from improving candidate experience and other affordable recruiting resources that you might know of. Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, so Cynthia, when I think I know what you're asking there. I think.
Sorry for my spelling. I meant
No,
to
that's
say
okay.
aside from candidate experience.
Aside from, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So you know what I say? It's not spelling, Cynthia. It's that your fingers are moving faster than your brain is, or the other way around, whichever sounds better.
Happens too often. My team knows that. They're
Yes.
like, what are you trying to tell me?
So I think too often, so Indeed is one of my favorite go-tos that I tell clients all the time. There's a lot of power with Indeed. But I think too, when you look at your recruiting platform, I think you need to look at the types of positions you're recruiting for and determine if Indeed is the right spot. Like I know Indeed will push you out to other websites, but as Paul mentioned, people are looking at 30-second TikToks right now. Okay. Should we be advertising on TikTok? Should we be using YouTube as a mechanism? In your case, Cynthia, being at a bank, I don't know how many tellers you're going to find on LinkedIn, right? But you might find managers and executives on LinkedIn, right? So tellers, you start thinking about, okay, well, where do I normally find my tellers? Where are they coming from? Is there something grassroots? Because I know you guys are in a bunch of different areas of Texas and Oklahoma. Are there other grassroots kind of, whether it's local websites to those areas or even local publications that people might be picking up and taking a look at for entry-level talent? So those are things I think you need to do a little bit of recon on to figure out how can we target some of those areas. Again, you're just casting a wider net at that point when it comes to your recruiting.
Yeah, the bigger bulk will be in our front line, which is the entry-level positions.
Sure.
Teller sales Indeed helps us tremendously for that, but all our other professional areas, we've looked at LinkedIn. My keyword was affordable, and LinkedIn is not always affordable in the recruiting platform for it, but yeah.
Although my understanding is, you may want to check this out. And this is a bonus for all of y'all. Okay. So my understanding is on LinkedIn, you can put an ad out there but you do it on your personal account and it's free as long as it doesn't run for more than 10 days. But then you just pull it down, change a little bit of wording and push it right back up again. Now, I'm sure that's a loophole in their algorithms that they will close up really soon, but I've been hearing that that's some things that people have been having success with.
And those entry-level positions, that I think the strategy that my orthodontists have been using could work really well. I mean, I know like it's just where you get coffee or where you encounter good customer service. A lot of times they're looking for a move, and you can offer them something more professional, more stable than what they're already doing.
Thank you.
So I see Gabby has to run, and I know we are right at the top of the hour. So we're going to close things down. Again, please go back. If you want to spend some more time with us, click that link, get that submitted. We'll spend some more time with you. Next webinar again is March 1st. It's a Wednesday at noon. I believe all the rest of our webinars are on Wednesdays. And again, if you hit my website, edcrow.com, it gives you the entire schedule of webinars for the year and the signups for those. So we look forward to seeing you again next month. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.